All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. As always, I'm joined by my co host, Coach Ralph. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Salim.
What a nice two results, huh? To get the big week
Yes,
started.
yeah. The run appears to be intact, and hopefully it will continue on Sunday.
Yeah. Just a quick recap of Southampton 3-2 game, very entertaining game. Maybe a little bit closer than what we would have liked it, but at the end we get the 3 points, and that's the most important. Coach Sabaslai scores in the 30th minute. Then Dibbling, who on Southampton, who was giving us all sorts of trouble that afternoon, gets a penalty kick on Robo, and Adam Armstrong takes a penalty kick, gets saved by Kelleher, his second at the time within a week's time. But it came right back to Armstrong and he scores. And then Dibbling again creates havoc down the right side on a counterattack that looked very Liverpool like. And Mateus Fernandez in the 56th minute scores. And then Mo Salah catches the goalie in no man's land, taps it in, and then a handball in the 83rd minute. Mo Salah converts the penalty kick 3-2. What were your thoughts on the game?
Um, the first half, I thought that Liverpool dominated it in terms of possession, and I think that we said last week when we were talking about the game, looking forward to it, that we hoped that Southampton wouldn't change their tactic and they would keep building out of the back, and it hasn't worked for them this season. I suppose you can credit the manager Russell Martin for being brave, but you could also say he's being foolish because basically the first goal for Liverpool was gift wrapped because they're just having so many problems because of course Liverpool press and it was just it was terrible from their point of view, and from a Liverpool point of view it was just a gift.
Yeah, and a nice shot by Sabaslai, left-footed, curls it in, hits the post.
And then
A couple things. Mo could have scored 4 or 5 goals in this game. He had a couple chances in the first half, and after his 2 goals, he also hit the post in the second half.
Yeah, I don't think it was his day. Having said that, I guess he turned it round in the last 10 minutes, but he was wasteful as really Liverpool were, because coming back to Southampton, they kept gifting opportunities, and while they weren't all as clear cut as the Szoboszlai goal, they were turning the ball over, and Liverpool just had them under constant pressure.
Yeah. Dibbling for Southampton was very effective. Young player was attacking Robertson all game and just seemed to be a real difference maker. He seems to be like a young kid that is on the rise and could be a really good professional. I was really impressed with his performance.
Yeah, I'd noticed him in some previous games this season, and obviously he's a talent, and he's in a team where they allow him to play his game, which is basically free on the wing, and I think he's just tasked with the fact of taking players on, and he's good at it.
Yeah, for sure. Coach, Mo Salah just seems to keep popping up. I mean, he's quiet for a big stretch of the game, and then all of a sudden he pops up, scores a goal. He's on penalties, obviously. He's doing pretty well with those, minus midweek. But, I mean, what can you say about this guy? He's 32. He's still scoring goals. He's still creating havoc. He's still, our talisman. I mean, what are we waiting for? Why aren't we signing this guy? He's still playing very, very well.
Yes, it does seem a bit mystifying on the one hand, and obviously he was he was gifted a goal with the Southampton goalkeeper getting caught, and then there's the penalty. And I guess he made his statement first of all on the field by showing the world just how fit he is. Let's put it like that.
Yeah,
he's in tip-top shape.
No doubt about it.
And then afterwards, going over and letting the world know that he's still not received any kind of offer from the club. So I guess he's stating his case, both sides of the coin, on the field, off the field.
There's rumor that he wants a 3-year contract, and at 32, that would bring him to 35 years old. Is this? It seems like it would be risky, but the fact that, like you mentioned, he's in tip-top shape. I mean, my wife and her friend were making comments when he took off his shirt. And but he's due to his religious beliefs, he doesn't drink alcohol. Like, he obviously takes very good care of his body and what he puts in it. And it just seems like if you're going to gamble on somebody that's going to be at that age, he's the guy you gamble on.
Yeah, I think just looking around, obviously you've got Ronaldo and you've got Messi, who are playing well into their 30s, and I'm sure that Salah has a similar kind of mentality to them. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to 2 years with a 1-year option ultimately.
Yeah.
There'll be a compromise, perhaps, hopefully.
Sure, yeah.
Because it does seem pretty clear that he wants to stay on at Anfield. So I don't think anybody can quibble with his output so far. And I'm not an expert on how the transfer market pans out, but if they sign him to another contract, whether it's 3 years or they compromise, if things aren't working out well, I think the Saudis will take him and they'll pay big bucks for him.
Yeah.
He could go in January. He could go anywhere. Anywhere,
mm-hmm.
And Liverpool won't get a penny. But if they sign him, and if things aren't going well and they want to sell him, then they'll get something back.
Yeah, no, I agree. We got to figure something out. I mean, they got to figure something out. Me and you have zero say in it, but if we did, we'd sign him. The coach midweek Wednesday, Real Madrid 2-0. McAllister scores, Gakpo scores. It was a very, very good performance by Liverpool. They outplayed Madrid. Granted, Vinicius Jr. wasn't there. They have some injuries. They're a little snake bitten this year, but they're still Real Madrid. And Connor Bradley, my God, man. I mean, that tackle on Mbappe was like scoring a goal. I was so fired up after that one, and the crowd got into it. He's really he's playing well. Like, you have to believe that at some point, if Trent wants to leave and wants to go wherever, I mean, it feels like we're in good hands with him. And I know we've talked about it in the past, and he's come on and he's played well, and we just wanted to see a little bit more consistency. But going up against Kylian Mbappe, and again, Mbappe maybe hasn't had the best start to his Real Madrid career, but we know what he's capable of. And he's very quick. He's an excellent player, top 5 player in the world. And Connor Bradley just was not intimidated, was not backing down at all. It was unbelievable how well he played. And the hamstring injury at the end, I hope, is just a minor thing, because those muscle issues can be a big deal. But I mean, tell me more about Connor Bradley, Coach.
Well, he's been around for a few years now. He's still young. I think one thing to keep in mind is the fact that he's played more games international football than he's played for Liverpool. So he's been a Northern Ireland international now for some time. And he also had a season with Bolton Wanderers. I think they were League One at the time. and obviously had a good season because I believe he was in the divisional all-star team or whatever they call it. So, I mean, like he'd played first team before he went to Bolton, and right from the start, he looked like a good prospect. He certainly offers a lot going forward, and he appears very solid defensively as well. He's a bit similar in some respects in terms of his temperament to Kelleher in goal. He seems to be pretty calm.
Yeah.
He doesn't get rattled easily. So, I think he's got a lot going for him. And I know he's a different style player to Trent, but I'd have to believe he would have the inside track of playing right full back next season for Liverpool. They might try to bring somebody in, but I think Bradley's going to be in contention. Just as and I'm shifting gears here, but I think Kelleher's reaching a point now where you're starting to say, well, do you bring Alisson back? Which kind of sounds weird, but
right.
It's both these boys are just really good players.
And being academy prospects, they mean that much more to the city, the stadium, and the fans, don't they? I mean,
along with Curtis Jones, who was also excellent.
He was excellent, yeah. You've
got 3 academy youngsters playing against the European champions, and they're looking really good. So yeah, these Liverpool have a good squad. I think Liverpool have a good squad, and Bradley did pick up an injury, as I think you noted towards the end of the game, and also there's the Konate issue. So,
oh man, yeah, that was.
I mean, these are injuries, but by the same token, who would replace them? You've got Trent is now back. And you've got Joe Gomez, who I think is a very underrated player.
Yeah. Coach, you mentioned Curtis Jones, and after the game, I was just kind of in a euphoric state, and something hit me. Curtis Jones is starting to look like Henderson a little bit more skilled on the ball, but he's running. He's just like he has a very Jordan Henderson style of game that I'm noticing. His temperament, his running, he's a little bit more better on the ball. But I know Henderson was the captain and was kind of like the coach on the field, so I'm taking that part out. But everything else just kind of starting to feel like a potential Jordan Henderson type of player and a captain down the road.
Well, he's got a lot of confidence now, Jones, because he's having an extended run in the team. He's been capped by England, which I'm sure psychologically is a boost.
Scored a great goal too.
So yes, I mean he's in a good place right now, and if there were any question marks about him, he's coming up against Luka Modric, who may be 40 years old, but he's still capable of playing at that level, and vastly experienced as well as talented. So yeah, Jones was excellent. Very, very, very confident on the ball, and he's come a long way. No question.
Yeah. Mbappe gets a penalty saved by Kelleher. That's his third one in like a 10-day stretch, I think, which is unbelievable. And then Salah misses a penalty kick. So if I were to tell you that both these guys have penalty kicks and both of them would not convert, you'd say I'm out of my mind, right? I mean, it was just wonky.
Yeah, I think it was just the way it was on that particular night, and but I don't think that's going to deter Salah.
No,
I'm sure he'll be firing on all cylinders for Manchester City.
So let's move on to Manchester City. 8-point gap now. It's a 6-pointer. Could be 11. Could be 5. Huge game. We all know what Manchester City is capable of. However, midweek against Feyenoord, they were up 3-0 with 15 minutes to go, and Feyenoord came back and tied the game 3-3. Their defense and their stability that's usually you can count on them winning games convincingly. There's a chink in the armor.
There is. I didn't see any of the highlights of the Feyenoord game, but I think just looking at it on paper, they were cruising, and then in such a short period of time, Feyenoord come back and score 3 times. So I think that kind of tells its own tale. And I know everybody's going on about Rodri, but I think while he's a massive, massive miss for them, I think Ruben Diaz is a very important player for them at the back. And he's been out. Now, I noticed he was on the bench against Feyenoord. I don't know if he came on, but he's the key defensive player, I feel. So it'll be interesting to see whether he comes back into the mix as Trent may do for Liverpool this weekend.
Also, De Bruyne is back in the mix. Even though he's getting a little bit older, I think he could be 80 years old and still know how to pass a ball impeccably.
Yeah. I mean, he's always going to have that quality. The one thing that I would question about De Bruyne right now is he's played several games, I believe, for City, but they've all been off the bench. So does that mean that he's not ready to start a game?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that if he was fit, he's an automatic choice.
Right.
But so yeah, it'll be intriguing to see whether Guardiola feels that he's ready to start him or not. Whether Diaz, who is a leader and, as I say, the key player for City at the back, whether he'll come back into the mix.
With all that being said, Coach, what lineup do you think Liverpool are going to put out? And let's just assume Konate. We rest Konate just to make sure that knee's okay. I mean, that was like literally the last play of the game too. That
I didn't see what happened, but I believe it was an impact injury.
Yeah, it was, which is better than a non-impact injury, because normally that's that's an ACL, but he landed on his right knee as they were kind of running, and Konate was running backwards. It was in the Liverpool box, and the guy just tripped and kind of fell on his leg. And according to everything I've read so far, he should be okay, but let's just assume he's not. We're going to just save him to make sure he's okay and he doesn't play this game.
Right. While everybody's got focused on Manchester City, I think the manager has to be thinking, we have 3 games in a week here, 3 Premier League games.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you could go out and beat Manchester City and then drop the next 2 games because of injuries, or he doesn't manage the squad properly or whatever. So whilst the Manchester City game is important, it's just part of a trilogy, as it were. 3 Premier League games, and then the other 2, Newcastle and Everton away, will both be tough games for different reasons. So I think the manager has to plan here. He has to plan. He has to look at his injuries. Is it worth risking Konate? Does he bring in Joe Gomez, who's experienced and I know has come on a couple of times this season and done well? So these are decisions. Bringing in Trent for Bradley, which kind of, I mean, in some ways, if you're looking at Liverpool's performance against Madrid, which actually I thought was the best all-round performance I've seen this season.
Yeah.
I mean, if they didn't have Knox, I'd be tempted to say play the same team.
Right.
Against Manchester City. But it appears that squad management may be called for here.
So, Kelleher in goal, obviously. Virgil, Robo, Trent. I think Gomez is going to start, and then when Trent gets a little tired, he's going to slide over Gomez and put in Kwanzaa. But I don't think he wants to start with Kwanzaa because of what happened in the first game week. I think also Kwanzaa probably has a little confidence that needs to be addressed a little bit. And then Gravenberch, Maka, Curtis, I think still you give Curtis another game. Salah, Darwin, and Diaz.
Yeah. At the back, one thing that I find intriguing is if he plays Gomez for Canate, and obviously Trent comes in at right back, I think that he'll try to take Trent for the 90 minutes. I don't think I think the only reason he will want to change is if there's an injury. Now, just say if Trent did go down or if he was struggling, I think that poses an interesting question, because if Liverpool are looking solid at the back, I'd be very surprised if he wants to change the centre-back pairing. I'd be very surprised. So does he do something left field, like put Quansah on at right full back? Now, he's a mobile player. His distribution isn't always consistent, but that might be something. Or does he try something which is even more left field, which is to put a midfield player there? So somebody like an Endo, who obviously is good defensively.
It's good, yeah.
So these are kind of interesting things that I'm sure Arne Slot will be going through as he makes decisions over injuries. Because if Bradley's is a hamstring issue, I think he's unlikely to play.
Yeah, I don't think you risk him. Yeah,
I think he's unlikely to play. So that means Trent goes in, and then he makes a decision. You see, the other thing is that if the Canate situation isn't as serious, I believe there was a similar game earlier in the year where he picked up an injury towards the end, and we thought he wouldn't play in the next game, and then he did.
Yes, yeah, that was a hand injury though.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but just say hypothetically, if he decides Canate is good to go, will he start Trent or will he hold off and put Gomez there? So I think these are things that the manager has to consider.
As far as the midfield goes, you got to go Gravenberch, McAllister, and Curtis Jones, right?
I would be surprised if he changed that. I would be surprised.
It was nice to see Harvey Elliott on the bench against Madrid. I'd be interested to see if he gets a run as well. Maybe 10 minutes.
I think we're going to see him the next week. Look. There's three games. So I think Elliott will figure at some point.
And then obviously Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz. We feel very confident about that left side, either or. They're both getting minutes. I think they're being managed properly, especially with the international breaks. We've talked about that. And
they're both scoring. They both score goals.
Yeah.
So they're doing well. I mean, I think the decision is whether he goes with Nunes from the start or puts Diaz down the middle of the field.
What do you think he's going to do?
Don't know. I have no idea. I mean, looking at it from my own perspective, City is shaky at the back. So does he put the chaos of Darwin Nunes on them, like to shake and rattle and roll them? But I don't know. I mean, obviously, Slot is a very tactical manager. So again, it'll be interesting because he's played Diaz at centre forward, I think, a couple of times, and did in the closing stages, didn't he, against Madrid? I think he
did.
Nunes.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a tactical decision one way or another, but I think all four will play.
And I haven't watched as much City, but their last starting lineup against Tottenham was Ederson in goal, Akanji and Stones, center backs, Vardiol on the left, Walker on the right, Rico Lewis, Gundogan, and Silva in the center of the park, Savinho, Foden, and Haaland up front. I would venture that De Bruyne is probably going to make some sort of appearance at some point, whether he starts or comes off the bench. But other than that, coach, and if Ruben Diaz is back, then that's good for them. He wasn't on the bench in that game, so
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Rico Lewis will start for him.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if that happens. And I believe Kovacic won't make it because he's a miss in the absence of Rodri. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does something. And this is the one thing that I fear about playing this game on Saturday is Manchester City can still win this game because they've got players and they've got experience.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he was to push Stones into midfield, bring in Diaz, and then he'll keep the rest of the back four the same. They're all good defenders, international players, strong and experienced. Put Stones as a reinforcement in midfield, and Gundogan. Who else was in midfield? Did you say?
Rico Lewis, Gundogan, and
was it Diaz?
Bernardo Silva.
Oh, sorry, not Diaz. Silva. Yeah. I think Silva will play. I wouldn't be surprised if his midfield is Silva, Stones, and Gundogan.
So against Feyenoord, it looks like Ake, Akanji, Rico Lewis was in the back with Guardiola. Gundogan and Nunes played double pivot. Foden in front of them, Silva on the right, Grealish on the left, and Haaland up front. So that's a little bit different. And Ruben Diaz was on the bench for that one. Yeah. So
Diaz, I have a feeling will play. It'll be an experienced back four. Stones in midfield, which effectively gives them 5 defenders. And then I'll be surprised if he plays Grealish. I don't think he'll play Lewis. I mean, if they play, it'll be as subs.
Yeah.
So Haaland and Foden, I think, play.
It's an interesting game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It is 1 point a good point here.
Well, I think there's 2 ways that you can look at it. I mean, we're still so early in the season. How many games is it? 12?
12, yeah.
Yeah, 12 games. So you're not even a third of the way through the season. So best case scenario is a Liverpool win, obviously. It puts them 11 points ahead of Manchester City. It doesn't put them 11 points ahead of Arsenal. And so I think Arsenal, they've got Odegaard back now. They won well against Forest. They won well against Sporting, who hammered Manchester City. So they look like they're poised to go on a run. And really, they have to go for it.
Yeah, and they got a good stretch of games coming too for them.
Yeah. So they have to go for it at this point. So best case scenario is a Liverpool win, but there's still a long, long way to go. If they drop a point, if they only get a point because it's a tie, then some will see that as a missed opportunity. Plus, if Arsenal wins, it gives them an opportunity to claw back some points. And if Liverpool loses, then they'll still be top. Manchester City will be closer with 5 points. And, I do share the common feeling, that once they get things sorted out, because they have the players. They have the players and they have the manager.
Yeah.
Once they are functioning at a reasonable degree, a lot of their games are just foregone conclusions. And I don't feel that that's the case for Liverpool or for Arsenal. And I think that's what spoiled the Premier League the last few years because it's been so predictable with Manchester City.
Yeah.
And for many neutrals, why this season seems more exciting, because even though Liverpool has a lead, you don't really feel, like everyone knows that they're a good team.
Yeah.
We are Liverpool fans and we know it's a good team, but I don't feel that they're invincible. And I don't feel that they're at the level of the best club teams, for example, but they're very good. And I think one thing that was very encouraging was, as I said earlier, I thought the Real Madrid performance was the best of the season to date.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's kind of like the last, more or less the last game of this big stretch of games where there was really, really tough opponents, really skilled opponents. I mean, Newcastle's good also, and Everton, the emotions of that one will be a good game as well. But the big stretch here, this is kind of like the last one with the stretch of Arsenal and Real Madrid, obviously Manchester City. But it's really nice to see how far they've come, and I'm confident about tomorrow. I don't think that if they plug Ruben Diaz in or not, I don't think he's going to really solve everything that they have. I think their midfield's extremely weak. Gundogan is getting up there in age. I think they can boss the midfield and get through the midfield pretty easily. So moving Stones in there might be interesting, but I think the midfield is where the game's going to be won, and I think Liverpool has more legs, is more dynamic, and I think that's where we'll win the game. That's where the crux of the game will be won.
Right, but besides De Bruyne, who else do they have as midfield options? I mean, like they can bring Lewis on, obviously. Do they have any other options in midfield?
So, I mean, normally it's Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Nunes, Foden.
You see, I don't really know Nunes as a player because they signed him and he hasn't really played that much.
Yeah.
But I think one tactic that Guardiola can use is if you were to start Gundogan, Stones, and Silva. Basically, you've got, as I say, you've got 5 defenders. So hopefully that makes them more solid defensively, he'll be thinking. Mm-hmm. And then Gundogan and Silva, they can just be given the remit, go out, run your legs off, and then we bring on De Bruyne and Nunes or Lewis or whoever. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, it's like a suicide mission. You go out, you run as hard as you can, you stay with Liverpool, and then we bring on the reinforcements. Because games naturally open up the later that you get into the 90 minutes. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a really good situation for a player like De Bruyne with his vision. Mm-hmm. Because there's more space typically late in a game. Yeah,
but he's also susceptible in the midfield as far as the Liverpool midfield being a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic, have more legs in them than De Bruyne, don't you think?
True, but remember that you're talking about a highly experienced player. And as I say, I mean, like if you're bringing him on for the last 20 to 25 minutes, then I don't think it's as much of an issue as if you're starting him.
Yeah, I see your point there. Yeah, they have to do that. That makes a like total sense that De Bruyne is going to not start the game and come in 20, 30 minutes left and be able to dictate the pace a little bit. And obviously his vision and passing is outstanding. So yeah, that could be dangerous. Coach, what are you predicting for a scoreline here? I can go first if you want me to.
I just have a feeling that Manchester City aren't going to lose. And I hate to say that as a Red. I just have a feeling that that this kind of plays into Manchester City's hands in some ways, because all of a sudden people are expecting them to lose. And whilst they've shown vulnerability, I mean, even before they went on the losing run,
Right.
I just look. I don't think Manchester City are going to come and take the game to Liverpool like they might try to do in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they have the kind of players and the experience to set up in a way to make things difficult for Liverpool. And as I keep saying, I think he'll play 5 defenders.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that they're solid. And Haaland's going through a dry patch right now. I mean, but you saw the Tottenham game. I mean, he had 2 great chances in the first 10 minutes. Manchester City started really well against Tottenham.
Yeah.
And once they fell behind, things kind of fell apart. So,
he's just not being as clinical. He's just not being as clinical as what we expect from him. But he's got a high expected goals. But
but all strikers are like that, Salim. They're all like that. They all have their moments when maybe things aren't going so well. The point is that if he converted one of those chances early against Tottenham, the cliche is it might have been a totally different game, and I think it would have been a totally different game.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
So the point is, that Manchester City can still create even though they're not playing particularly well. And so I just feel that the manager will prioritize tightening things at the back, trying to keep pace with Liverpool's midfield. And then, as I've said so many times before, Haaland is his insurance policy. Okay, he's on a run where he's not firing on all cylinders, but that can change in a heartbeat.
From when do we go that he's not firing on all cylinders? It's strikers go through ups and downs to, wow, he's on a really big drought. Like what's because I think it's 6 games. He's got 1 goal, maybe 2 goals as far in the Premier League. He scored a couple against Feyenoord. But are we just spoiled by him that we just expect this and we're not kind of taking into account the dry spell just because we've never really seen him go through one?
Well, it is a drought by his standards, certainly. But I think first of all, I think you've got to look at him, and I think the manager will look at him and say, okay, he's on a tough run right now, but he's arguably the best striker in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then what alternatives does he have? And the answer is not much.
Yeah, none really.
Because Alvarez moved on. And so I'm sure that if Manchester City does any business, that they'll be looking to bring in somebody that can maybe give Haaland a break, deputise, and I mean, if he picks up an injury, that could be very costly for them.
Yeah, you're right. Van Dijk does usually a pretty good job on Haaland. However, whenever that man's on the field, you're always a little bit nervous. And by little, I mean a lot, actually.
Yeah. Look, Erling Haaland is Erling Haaland, and he knows where the back of the net is. He can use his left, right, head. He's physically strong. He's fast. And I think he's a team player, but I think in some ways having him on the team is a compromise for Guardiola because he wants players, to be involved collectively.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel that Haaland, and it's not a criticism of him, it's just who he is. He's a goal scorer.
Yeah.
And so I think in some ways Manchester City is a 10-man team plus Erling Haaland. And Erling Haaland's job is stay close to the goal and score.
Yeah.
And he gets plenty of opportunities. I mean, one stat that was interesting was actually to do with Harry Kane, because Harry Kane, I don't know if you know, just set the record for scoring the 50 goals, the fastest in the Bundesliga. And I was watching one broadcast, and they were saying, "Oh gosh, that's even faster than Erling Haaland."
Oh wow!
But Borussia Dortmund don't create as many chances as Manchester City.
Yeah, that's true.
So Haaland's always going to score more just because Manchester City have the ball so much and they create a lot. And so I feel that his remit is basically stay close to the goal, you get your chances, finish.
I'm going to predict a 2-1 or 3-1 victory to Liverpool. I just think the midfield is a major point that we'll be able to cut through pretty regularly. So, I mean, this is why we watch soccer, though, right, Coach? I mean, these are the games. The Madrid game on Wednesday. This game. These are the games that are exciting and nerve-wracking and just fun to watch. And obviously, when things go our way, we're in a good mood. When things don't go our way, we just go on about our day. But the fact that this is Manchester City, and they are vulnerable. They've lost 4 or 5 games in a row. They have some key injuries. If any year is a year where Liverpool or any other contender can really pip them to the finish line, it's this year, isn't it?
Well, hopefully, because as I believe I've said before, when they talk about the Premier League being the best in the world, I would say it has been from second place team down to number 20.
Yeah.
So Manchester City have dominated to such an extent, and it always comes down to we're waiting to see what the result is of these charges, and I have a feeling we'll be waiting for another few years. But so do we congratulate them on their dominance, or is their dominance something that's been built on I shouldn't use the word cheating, but I guess it is, isn't it, if you break the rules? So
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they still have to go on the field and play. So if the club kind of did some nonsense or whatever, I mean, that's just so many charges. I mean, that's so many. And, in this modern day, you don't just throw charges out willy-nilly. It's just not something you do, especially when it comes to sports. Obviously, from a social aspect, it might be different. But the fact that the Premier League has done some research and looked at it, and I mean, I don't understand really, to be honest, how these things drag on and what's going on. Yeah. But I guess
look, the world we live in, we like we're going through a situation in America where you can break the law, and then we find out that it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that ultimately, I mean, even if there is wrongdoing, I think there'll be a compromise or whatever, because you've got to move on from it. And so I think delaying all the time to some degree is, well, it's the tactic, and I think they'll just run out of gas, if not money. And I'm not talking about Manchester City now.
Well, Coach, Sunday it is. It's. I mean, what a game! It's always an exciting game between these two. A lot of good players. When Klopp was there, two coaches that loved competing against each other. Now Slot gets his crack at Pep. He gave a lot of credit to Pep, as rightfully he deserves. Pep has been unbelievable manager for a long time. And it's just exciting to see what's going to happen on Sunday.
Yeah. We'll all be glued you and I will be glued to the TV set.
Yeah, absolutely.
60,000 people at Anfield. So,
yeah, it's nice that this one's at home too. Maybe that extra push from the fans can get us across the line as well.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that whatever happens Sunday, that not just the team but the fans don't take their eye off the ball, and because you've got 2 Premier League games, 6 points to be played for.
Yeah.
So Liverpool have to stay focused, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah, and with the squad that we have, we can't make those rotations, and Harvey Elliott's back in the squad, like we said, and he'll get some games, and the fact that Curtis Jones has really almost staked his claim to Szoboszlai's role. that now Szoboszlai can come in and has legs ready to go. So it's pretty exciting how things are shaping up. But Coach, as always, I want to thank you for joining me. Love your insight on all things Liverpool. And folks, unbelievable game to be played on Sunday. We're extremely excited. Thank you for watching the live stream, and we will talk to you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.